No hitting in Terraria is hard and all, but try doing it on a 720p screen, with a controller, on a version of the game that's older than my dog. That's right, I no-hit every boss on the Xbox 360 edition of the game, because nobody else has done it. And it would be funny if I, of all people, became the first. So I dug out the Xbox 360 I got from Sex a couple years back, ordered a dodgy capture card off Amazon, booted up the game and got right to it. Now it had been a very long time since I played the Xbox 360 edition, so I was instantly hit with a black flash of nostalgia. Just the sheer simplicity of it all, the old camera, everything. Now of course no matter what version you play though, the early game is always the same as ever. I flattened out my terrain, chopped down some trees and whatnot. I built my typical underground bunker house too, so that I won't get stuck on my house in the middle of a boss fight and fucking die. Okay look, I'll be so real, the early game really wasn't that interesting aside from me not being able to use life crystals because it is a no-hit run, so I'll just skip through all the main plot beats, Tokyo Ghoul re-style. After the first night, I snuck into the underground jungle and found an enchanted boomerang, a weapon that could actually take down a boss. But it's kind of hard exploring when everything is as zoomed in as your nan's phone. Surprisingly for me as well, I actually took a bit of time to build up my house too, and I'm thinking it looks pretty sick. I don't know about you. Next up, I went to the cave on my left and found a snow biome. Well yeah, obviously there's gonna be snow because jungle's on the right side, and yeah, I mined up a shit ton of ore, had a mini boss fight with an undead Viking and a spiked ice slime. Keep in mind, I can't actually use any life crystals either. You just know how hard the hard mode jungle's gonna be. Got clad in a bowl, upgraded my chest a bit back at home. Cannot lie, out of all the early games I've been through, this one's actually been somewhat of a breeze, especially finding the enchanted boomerang so early. Aside from dying to about 20 hornets off camera. In a very lucky twist of fate though, I go back to where I die and find a pair of Hermes boots, completing the early game accessory trifecta. Including an anklet of the wind in case I wanted to make some lightning boots. Which, let me tell you, I'll be needing them. With our accessories basically capped off at this point, all we'll be needing for the first boss fight is a decent ranged weapon. And if you know me, I think you'll know exactly what I'm going for. Yeah, even 11 years ago this weapon was still busted as all anything. And now with said weapon in the very palm of our hands, this is where the video gets interesting. With good accessories, a decent weapon, and our terrain kind of flattened out, I head straight into the first boss, not expecting to beat it on the first attempt. But this is King Slime though, normal mode King Slime, 1.2.4 King Slime, the very first boss you're meant to fight in the game. And yeah, he's already stuck in a pit. 1.2.4 really was a different time, man. I'm not letting myself cheese any bosses unless I deem them literally impossible to get past otherwise. So this dude's gonna have to shimmy his slimy ass out of the pit and keep it pushing. Anyways, about the actual fight though, the gameplay is literally just run in one direction and shoot the slimes, so what could possibly go wrong? I've buggered myself. Oh damn, I got hit. I'm gonna have to make a whole other boss summon and try this again. Not exactly. Let me show you some magic. And the sole thing that made this entire run possible in the first place. I don't know if this works on the PS3, but when you turn off autosave in the game settings, pressing main menu will open up a menu of itself with two options. Save and exit. And exit without saving. You've probably caught on already, haven't you? You can save scum in Xbox 360 Terraria. You don't have to waste boss summons. Make the wrong choice, just exit without saving and try again. Just don't forget to turn autosave back on. So anyways, after returning by death, I attempt the fight once more. Of course, the main bulk of the fight is exactly the same, just run in one direction and shoot the bastard, until he gets stuck again. And again. And then you pull off probably the coolest sequence of movements in Terraria history. And then die in the most avoidable way possible. Look man, this fight is so easy, I'm just tripping. Here we go, third time's the charm. First boss down, and seeing how that went, I'm actually feeling pretty hopeful. So after some quick terrain preparations, let's just move on straight to the Eye of Cthulhu. And yeah, back in the day, you had to manually hammer each individual platform. Anyways, where were we? It's been fucking ages since I've edited this video. Oh yeah, the Eye of Cthulhu, yep, that was easy. With the combo of our pretty much max-style early game loadout combined with gun, we made quick work of the Eye of Cthulhu on the first attempt. There really just isn't much else to say, to be honest, it was just normal mode Eye of Cthulhu. With the Demonite we get, I make a Light's Bane, and then we move on to the next boss in progression, the Eater of Worlds, which I'm doing before the Brain of Cthulhu. I quickly build a platform spanning most of the corruption, then I summon the worm in. Actually, suck my It's okay though, thanks to the authority of return by save scumming, I can just start right from where I left off. Right, this time, third take. Fourth time's the charm, am I right? Alright, okay, seriously, are you You may be wondering why I didn't just use worm food. Well, there weren't enough mushrooms, okay? Going into this fight, things actually seemed to be fairly easy. My strategy was just running from either side of the corruption and firing my musket, albeit with the handicap of barely being able to see where the boss is and therefore where I'm even aiming at. This fight was going to be a game of endurance. In fact, the slimes that spawned in randomly were probably harder than the boss itself. It's just mainly that issue of not being able to see where the boss is and where it's coming from. There was no dodging in this no-hit. It's either predict where the boss is or get completely bamboozled. Especially so in the later phases when this guy splits into like 20 different dudes. I haven't even mentioned the lack of damage yet either. The last attempt you saw took like 10 minutes to get to that point. And so did this one. In the midst of fighting that boss, the goblin army decided to show themselves, so I took a quick break and fought them off, dying a healthy amount of times in the process. Anyways, I decided I should employ some old-fashioned methods with the Eater of Worlds. Grenades, which, come to think of it, I don't know why I didn't choose to use these earlier. Cause if you've played a 2D Minecraft in your life, you will know these things are beastly against any worm boss pretty much. And thus, within the next couple of attempts, these ones being much shorter than the musket ones. You know, it's been nearly 4 months since I've recorded this, and I'm telling you, this boss nearly made me give up on the challenge. The later bosses, though. But we're still in the somewhat fun part of the game though, so let's keep this train moving. Our next boss being the Brain of Cthulhu, which due to the no-hit rules, I can't use the Eater of Worlds gear on, and vice versa. At least not until I've done both of them. On a brighter note, one of the quirks of 1.2.4 is that you don't need any vicious powder to make the bloody spine. So I nicked some vertebrae from the crimson enemies and yeah, away I went. On the surface, this fight seemed fun. The same grenades I used on the Eater of Worlds subsequently shredded the creepers, so that's awesome. And I feel like even with the erraticness of the creepers movement, this was still a much fairer fight than the Eater of Worlds. Except when the brain teleports inside you. But honestly, there wasn't really much to overcome here aside from learning the creepers' movement patterns if they even have one. Well, that was somewhat fun. It wasn't a total pushover like the Eye, but also wasn't agonizingly boring and annoying like the Eater of Worlds. It still took roughly 20 attempts to nail this, but I had a decent enough time. So let's move on and prep for Queen Bee now, our next challenge. I peacefully chopped a few logs for some platform wood, and took some time to appreciate the simpler pleasures of Terraria, and also life. Between Shadow and Crimson armor, I chose Crimson, which in hindsight was probably worse than Shadow's movement buffs, but the damage is still useful anyways. Now into the depths of the jungle, I faff around until I find a beehive, but I won't be fighting Queen Bee underground. Not for the sake of any sophisticated cheese or anything, she just doesn't enrage above ground in 1.2.4. I gather enough stuff to make a few abominations, build a platform while the UK weather ravages me in-game, then while it's still raining, begin the first real roadblock of this run. Queen Bee dashes. I dodge, gun dealing good enough damage, then Queen Bee's rubber banding kicks in, flying all the way from the right to the left side of the screen and sniping me with a stinger. Combined with the awkward controls, this was by a good stretch what I died to the most. Predicting her movement off screen while simultaneously keeping track of the little bees is quite difficult. 20 attempts or so in the can, and I bite the bullet and spaff my gold on a mini shark, which dealt way more damage than the musket, and while not perfect, dealt with the bees much more efficiently. After another 20 attempts of similar results and my game crashing though, I decided I needed to prepare a bit more. The next day, I hopped on and went straight to the Sky Islands, because I wanted some balloons. A couple new worlds in, and I find all three. I already have the Sandstorm and Cloud in a bottle, so one of the hardest parts is taken care of, but I still need the Blizzard, which luckily wasn't too hard to come by. So now I can make the best jump accessory in the game, taking care of movement for now. For the offensive side, I knew I was going to have to do it eventually, so I spent a while mining some hellstone. I just love the old underworld, it's so nostalgic, the old background. I made the fiery greatsword, molten pick, and imp staff, then delved down once again. What would I be needing? Well, it's a little old console exclusive weapon I wanted to pay homage to. With 2 molten furies and 10 hellstone bars, you can make the Sharanga, an anomaly that somehow slipped through the cracks during testing, assuming they even tested this thing in the first place. The Molten Fury is the best pre-hard mod bow in this version, but this thing outshines even some hard mode repeaters in raw damage, not to mention the free Cursed Inferno debuff along with it. I defeat Queen Bee on my first attempt after obtaining the Sharanga. Then I immediately fight her again because I am broke beyond compare after buying that mini shark. After pulling off all her drops, I made the bold decision to craft bee armor and spec into Summoner Hybrid, as the Crimson Armor's negligible damage bonus and entirely useless life regen was useless in comparison to all the summoner bonuses from the bee armor. And seeing how busted the Sharanga was against the bee, I say fuck it. It's nighttime, we got a shot against Skelly, normal mode Skelly. I set my spawn and get on with it. The hands were my biggest fear at first, as they would be rubber banding and going off screen a lot, but they were kinda slow, and I was already warmed up from the Queen Bee fight. In a matter of seconds, the hands are reduced to dust, and due to this being normal mode Skeletron, I'm left with the easiest victory of my life. You know what comes next now, don't you? Exploring the dungeon with 100 HP. There's not really anything I'll be needing here though, aside from bones for later, and the Mirror Master to finally craft the Knight's Edge. And with that, we're ready for the final challenge of pre-hard mode. Except, there's one more thing I'd like that would make traversing the underworld a bit easier. Lava waders, which require water walking boots. And let me tell you, these stupid ugly ass Mario looking stomp boots took me over an hour of searching to find. A 1 in 15 chance, might I add. But anyways, with that piece of the puzzle solved, I craft the lava waders within minutes, and dive into the underworld with my Poundland Terraspark boots. Not knowing where on earth I'm gonna begin with this boss, I clear out a few obsidian houses, then just get started. Welcome to hell. Of course, let's address the 500-pound elephant in the room here. We can't see the boss for shit, let alone where its lasers are coming from. I survive for a bit just from sheer luck, then get whacked shortly after. And the same goes for the next few attempts, wondering if I'm even hitting the wall itself. I build bridges, try staying close, far, experiment with featherfall potions. The staying far back approach combined with the featherfall did help considerably, but no matter what I did, how I moved, I'd get caught by a laser that I just couldn't read. And keep in mind, the wall shoots them even faster the lower in health he gets. Speaking of which, upon checking the wall's health bar, I'd barely even scratched off half of his health on a good attempt. Is this challenge over already? Nah, this video has more runtime. Let's just say, if it's for the right cause, there's nothing wrong with playing dirty. Seeing how some people have done it on the latest version, I tried building a second bridge above my head to block lasers from above. I'll still have hungries to deal with, but why not try it? I can't exactly hit the wall like this, and my summons won't go up there either. Okay, I think I have something that might solve this. The Star Fury. Now I can hit the wall just fine and deal decent enough damage, but I have to stay scarily close to the wall though, making hungries much more of an issue, at least until I take them all out, considering they don't respawn in normal mode. I delve further into the fight after getting hit just to see what would happen, and I stumble upon an entirely new issue too: leeches. At first they're slow enough to the point where they pose no threat, but like the lasers, they gradually speed up and become near impossible to avoid as the boss's health diminishes. They can't fly though, so I just build a higher platform, once again with a roof, and after some experimentation, I think I'd finally grasped the perfect setup. I just had to make it a little bit longer though. I'd been fighting the wall for nearly 2 hours at this point, and this was the first time I'd been able to consistently get his health this low. But the leeches were somehow making it up to my bridge, like come the f***. One attempt, I got the wall down to literal hundreds of HP. And those fuck-ass leeches Another hearty amount of attempts go by, I switch to the Imp Staff and Dark Lance to take care of the Hungries, which is slightly more effective, and I devised a strategy to avoid the leeches. There's still the off chance these stringy buggers will reach me anyways, but I found that staying further away from the wall towards the end reduced that likelihood, with the Dark Lance taking them out through blocks. All I needed now was the golden run. I'm not proud of it, but we won. But have we really emerged victorious when horrors of such magnitude await us? For now though, we can take it easy and just focus on preparing. Beginning the early hard mode rush, of course, I break some demon altars, sadly getting palladium and titanium. Also, don't explore any hard mode biome with 100 HP. I mine palladium, make the pick, die a few times, then mithril, gathering some souls along the way. My Knight's Edge absolutely wasn't cutting it against the hard mode enemies, and we were going to need a ranged weapon for the mechs, so I went with the all-reliable shotgun, paired with explosive bullets. After making a titanium pick, the next logical step would be to craft the armor set, but I had other ideas. I wanted to go once again with a summoner hybrid build, as I felt like the damage bonuses from the titanium ranged armor are lackluster compared to having a shit ton of minions at your disposal. So after shooting down some spiders, I craft the spider staff and armor, spent almost a blimmin' hour looking for wyverns, luckily getting a giant harpy feather along the way though, so I made the harpy wings. And now I think we're finally ready to attempt our first mech. I chose the Destroyer, as I thought it would be the simplest to take out. Much like the Wall of Flesh, the entire fight was just flying around off-screen lasers, but this time around I had probes hunting me down from every angle, also firing lasers at me. Even with a Featherfall potion and wings, there was just no consistent way to avoid the onslaught of lasers, and my shotgun wasn't exactly dealing good damage to the boss, nor able to hold off the hundreds of probes. So about half an hour in, I decided I'll challenge the twins instead, who were much simpler to dodge, and actually stayed within a reasonable distance of me. Retinator, for some reason, would not fire any lasers at me if I was far enough apart from him. I'm not sure why, so for the first part of the fight, I only had spaz to deal with, and although my damage wasn't phenomenal, it was sufficient, enough that I'd be able to take out both of them within the night. I just had to practice. One night, I brought down spaz to a dribble of health, with Retinator in his second phase too, but the wyvern needs me. After another half an hour of attempts with a very similar fate, I realized something. Something that had been happening this entire time, that I tried to ignore. It wouldn't have to come to this. Nah, there's no other way. On multiple occasions, I'd managed to get Retinator to despawn while spaz sticks around. And from prior knowledge, beating one of them in this state still counts as a win. I didn't want it to come to this, but at that time, I did not want to spend hours upon hours dying to laser spam. So, depending on how you see things, I failed this challenge, and my run is tainted. But I didn't use any despawning shenanigans on any future bosses though. Seeing as my spiders were as useless as pebbles in this fight, I switched over to the Mithril range set, equipped a magic quiver I luckily got from a skeleton, and made a titanium repeater to save me the mental effort of having to constantly spam the shotgun. Yeah, there was no auto fire in 1.2.4. I farmed for some cursed arrows, then rode valiantly into battle once more, this time prepared to win and move forward. My strategy for the fight was pretty much to lure spaz as far away from Ret as possible, checking the map occasionally to see their positions and make sure Ret despawns, using a Featherfall to glide and weave through Spaz's green balls. Once Spaz hits the second phase, all that's left is to run as fast as possible in the opposite direction, whilst also checking the map again to make sure I'm not too far away, and just pray. I think this fight is part of why I gave up on making the video last year, but at least all the bosses after this are as legitimate as possible. Speaking of legitimacy, I have a controversial yet totally legitimate ace up my sleeve that doesn't break progression whatsoever. Let me explain. Now with one mech defeated, I gain access to two things: hallowed bars, and the small chance for a natural solar eclipse. You might see where this is going. I can craft the Excalibur with the hallowed bars, obtain a broken hero sword, then make the Terraria. But hold on, broken hero swords are a post-Plantera drop. And that would be where you're wrong. Broken hero swords drop from Swamp Things and Frankensteins in 1.2.4, with no other requirements. The true Excalibur and Knight's Edge only need a broken hero sword to make, so it's entirely possible for me to craft a Terrorblade having only defeated a single mech. Do you realize the magnitude of how awesome this is? The only obstacle in our way though is that 1 in 20 chance for a solar eclipse to happen. But there's a way to brute force that. According to some kid on YouTube, if you save around 5 seconds before it becomes day, then just keep reloading into the world, then before long, you should get a solar eclipse without having to wait hours upon hours. So now all I need to do is fight off the enemies I am tragically unprepared for, and hope for the best. When a death circle would be nice too. With the first solar eclipse, I get mad lucky with 2 broken hero swords. And before long, the second one blesses me, and I craft 1.2.4's Zenith. Fuck the Zenith, Terrorblade has way more aura. And I get a Death Sickle too, let's go. Anyways, now wielding a sword that I should not have with a reforged that I pretty much cheated in, the final 2 mechs should be a lot easier. The Terrorblade with its piercing projectiles is a menace against the Destroyer, so that's the boss I challenge first. The fight isn't really anything special, still the same old off-screen laser disco, but I can send the probes back where they came from much quicker now, and with some lucky movements and the insane damage from the Terrorblade, the Destroyer falls in just a few more attempts. Nice. I would craft the Mega Shark for Skeletron Prime if we didn't have the shitting Terrorblade already, so instead I just go directly into Skeletron Prime, the worst boss in this run. First off, at least half the times you spawn this guy, he'll just bonk his head into your ass like, whoops, sorry bro. If you have the instinct to lure him upwards and swoop below him, then you might be able to avoid the device and the saw, unless one of his lasers, which have a randomly offset angle when fired, manages to clip you. Once all the arms are gone though, like baby Skeletron, the fight will be completely free. But that is way easier said than done. The main strategy that kind of solidified here was kiting him and flying in a U pattern, which if you mess up even in the slightest manner, say staying too high when weaving under the boss, 9 times out of 10 you'll get shanked by an arm with no time to react to it. And of course there's the chance that you just get caught by a laser even on a perfect run, as with their skewed accuracy there is literally no other way to dodge it than luck. The fight was so hard, I had to change my jump key to L2, which I actually didn't know you could do on old gen console, and I am very glad I found that out early on in the game. Yes, early on. Anyways, hours passed across multiple recording sessions, same result. I fought the twins again for enough bars to make hallowed armor because I was still using spider armor, because I'm stubborn. I actually expand my arena for once and grow some pumpkins for a well-fed buff, and now I present to you the culmination of my efforts. Immediately upon spawn, I check Prime's location on the map to make sure I don't get caught off guard, then follow a sort of pattern based upon the boss's attack cycle. It's been too long to remember it fully, but essentially I'd move in a tight V with a bundle of balloons, and when I see lasers flood my screen, I'll begin tightly circling him, as that's how I know when Prime is spinning. The tricky part here though is figuring out when Prime stops spinning, as if he's directly below you when this happens, then your run is in the bin. I kind of done this off intuition just from the amount of attempts I did, and luck of course. All the while, I aim my Terrorblade in the general direction of where the lasers come from to take it out as quickly as possible. Then once that's dealt with, I follow the same pattern, but moving a lot more, kind of like wider brush strokes, so that the remaining limbs don't screw me over. I checked the map to make sure it's finally done, and I tell you, when I saw just that one dot left on the map, I was a happy man. We can finally move on. I made the pickaxe axe, went on a business trip to the underground Hallow and Corruption. then crafted the suspicious looking skull to fight Okram. And yeah, this definitely is impossible. His first phase is completely free of charge, but as soon as he enters his second, the fight is completely impossible. Assuming you aren't gonna cheese. Wait, who said that? So yeah, what I did is I dug out a big, enormous ass tunnel, which... unfortunately wasn't sufficient enough since I wasn't agile enough to dodge the second phase. So I laid down asphalt across the entire tunnel, and yeah, woohoo, there we go, boring fight, boring game, let's move on. Except not quite yet. There we go, best armor in the game obtained and an auto mail glove. Now I can fight Plantera. This arena took ages to make, but here we are. The first phase was okay until Plantera shot the bouncy balls. The balls were kind of avoidable though, as long as I stuck to the top of the arena, but I'd still have to very carefully weave through all the high velocity seeds. The second phase would be easier, but I'd still have to cling onto the top of the arena to avoid the residual balls on the floor, and take into account Plantera's stupid insane speed along with the tentacles that grab you out of nowhere. It wasn't that hard though, especially not when compared to Prime, so now I'll be moving on to the final boss. But what about Fishron? Oh, yes, come here! There we go. Oh, where is this? Oh, hi, there you are. Huh. There he is. Now, if there's enemies on the ground, that would be very bad. But I should be fine. Yeah, this is so fucking free, man. Oh! Alright. Hey, there you are, buddy. Hey, whoa, okay, that was close. Alright, yeah, you're so fucking dead. I need to go down this way now. Perfect.
Wow.
Okay, hopefully there's no, like, tornadoes. Yeah, we're fine. We got this. Oh! There we go, that was, like, so freaking... It's okay, it was at the end, so it counts. I had lived till the boss died. I love the tutorial world, it's so nostalgic. Why am I So yeah, you can take Fishron literally anywhere you like, which, I mean, I guess is cheesing, but do I really give a Now, Golem? It was literally the same as Prime, but easier. Just off-screen laser spam. I took him to the surface, since he would have been harder than Prime had I battled him in his home domain. The challenge with this fight was making sure I changed directions at the right time, as to avoid being caught by a yellow line. And yeah, it wasn't all too hard. Now, what am I doing with my channel, you might ask? Well, I probably won't make any Terraria videos unless a chunky old update comes out. Aside from that though, it's a secret, for now. Thank you ever so much as always to my Patreons, although I'm surprised you're still sticking around considering Considering I'm probably going to be doing a complete 180 with my content, but yeah, either way, thank you guys. Don't forget to make a cup of coffee, and I'll see you guys on the other side.